My name is Rhapsody, his name is sneakyteak, and welcome back to Ladder Streak for another week. How's it going, my friend?
All is well from this side of the table. I'm excited to play some more Monster Train. I've been playing some on my stream as well.
It's been an exciting time to play Monster Train because it kind of feels like, it feels like at the moment we're experiencing the waves that start to peter out before it's flat for a bit because the sea has just sucked an immense amount of water for a giant wave, which is to say the next DLC looms large on the horizon.
As I have come to learn, I'm often, considering the amount of Monster Train that I've played and the amount that I'm invested in the game, I feel perpetually behind the news with Monster Train, which is interesting.
I feel like you've correctly identified in other circumstances exactly why that is, and it's that they stream the news that they have to tell, but then they don't publish that anywhere except for in stream itself, and it's not necessarily super digestible, especially as someone who, you know, I can't necessarily watch a 6-hour stream of announcements of new things because I have to go and record it.
That's right. I have to go do the job. Yeah, I want something that I can subscribe to and have pop up on the Discord or something. So I kind of get all the news secondhand. Like I'll be streaming Monster Train and someone will say, Teak, did you see the news spoiler for the Wormkin? And I'm like, no. Would you like to give me a link to a picture? I'll go look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same experience of there are people who very avidly screenshot those kinds of things and then post them in my Discord somewhere, and that's how I ever interact with them. And it really feels like I should be interacting on a different level than that. And that's not to say like it's on me or it's on them. It's just it feels weird, you know?
Also, I don't know why I gave this helpful Good Samaritan the voice that I did, because they should be given a helpful voice, and I gave them the typical voice.
It feels like every single time you have to impersonate someone, you have to just differentiate it from your own voice.
By making it high-pitched. Exactly.
And you know, if you've got a low-pitched voice, you're going to go a little bit higher-pitched.
That's right. It's Mice of Nim in my chat room.
I do it to myself. Like, the other day I was saying, what am I going to do over here? And I'm like, what? I never spoke like that, even before puberty.
When you're, I don't want to say mocking, but you know, when you are enjoying the irony of the way that the thing that you said aged, right? Oh, I really am worried that I'm not going to do enough damage right before you obliterate the whole fight on turn one, right?
Yeah.
No, I totally get you.
It's unfortunately used in both ways, so it's difficult to tease apart when it's used for mockery and when it's used for this is differentiating from my own voice. I'm gonna click a depart button here because there's something exciting about this class.
Can you throw me a stream of the game?
Oh, I still didn't do that.
And you know what? You could probably podcast this, and I would be able to follow it. And that would make for a hilarious episode.
We've got Talos the Architect, Fell the Wings of Light, and Seraph the Chase. 2 Vine Grasps, 2 Welder Helpers, and a Wake in the base deck. All right, so do you want to go left or right, Teak?
Okay. Well, we should first pick our horde, I think.
You're right. That's definitely the one we should go with first.
This is like blindfolded chess, right? When they have a grandmaster play 20 different players while blindfolded or something.
This is consecutive.
This feels like OG. You know, this is when the game was still in beta and you could only play green team or red team.
Yep.
And so you got very good at recombining those teams.
They're both non-exiled as well. And it's against a Seraph that did exist in the base game.
Yes, and it's Seraph the Chaste, which was, up until recent, the Seraph that I considered the worst news for the regular Awoken Sentient champion. But we do have some new kit that hopefully we get to explore today. Hopefully.
So we'll see. Although I will just note before we go over this starting screen, great starting cards.
Yeah. There's an Awaken here too. That's pretty good.
All right, just quickly checking the second round. We've got a Hellhorn banner next to the Merchant of Magic, Awoken banner next to a Merchant of Steel. I already have some ideas here. Some people have seen a couple of my recent episodes and may know what those ideas are. Let's see if they come to fruition. Well,
we got it. We have to do it, I think. I think we need to take cultivating. Just now, because it's new, I've played a couple runs with it on stream.
What? Teak. But that's not why we're taking it. We're taking it because it's a draw gem.
Yeah, well, it's 3 draw gems, let's be clear.
Exactly.
It's not 1 draw gem.
My
it's
apologies.
actually ridiculous.
I undersold it.
I think it would be it would be of debatable strength with just the cultivating effect, but it does also have a stack of draw gems in there by the end. Absolutely.
Hey, that Hell's Banner looks pretty good with 2 imps in the base deck.
It does, right? I mean, I've got to assume that it's better. Channel Heart is such a weird pick here. Like, we take a Channel Heart for the prospect of maybe casting Stings eventually. That just is not a floor 0 pick. You might be able to get away with it, you know? But I think we get immediate value out of Hell's Banner, and we'll continue to throughout the run.
I'm kind of starting to wonder, how can we get more consistent value out of it as well? Like, already I'm thinking endless on an imp that we play multiple times on that floor, killing it with the Vine Grasps or the Torches or some such. But it's going to have less value because we are a cultivating sentient. So we really want something on that floor that we intend on consistently feeding.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're gonna like need to kill off. Imps as buff units are weird because they tend to have low health, right? And we don't really want them getting cultivated necessarily. But we have torches also, so it's not like we can't kill our own imps. Sacrifice, recycle. It's not killing. We're just upcycling them.
Yeah, no, we're just giving them a vacation until the next fight. That's
right. They always leave so peacefully too. They seem kind of pleased when you torch the imp. So I have to assume that it's mutual.
One of them says "Mama," so like, that's confirmation right there that it's all good.
You're right. No, it makes sense.
I will say, actually, though, my immediate thought in regards to having the power of the imps already provided their cost from the Hell's Banner is starting to get me thinking about possibly running like an imp floor and like a cultivating floor as well. Like an effect floor and a scaling floor.
I've found that with Hell's Banner, it's as long as you don't overcut units from your deck, it is not hard to get value out of, because in the worst case, you can always stack units on other floors. Now, I know that what I just said is fairly hard to digest, but I just want to really assert that it is true.
Yes. I will have to be a little more careful about cutting every single unit as quickly as I possibly can.
Consider using the units.
Wait, what?
No.
Like playing them?
That can't be right.
You mean they're not just dead weights?
I think that imps, you know, jokes aside, because this is being too unkind, but jokes aside, imps give you a lot of expression, I think, in terms of the way that you can just use, like, a train steward in order to get a little bit more value out, to put a bit more pressure on a lane during waves, to protect your top line a little bit more, to save a bit more health for the Relentless phase. That's my kind of deck. That's part of the reason why I love Melting Remnant so much. Just a collection of 15 hip-based tools that I can play into the match.
Yeah. I'm less kind of like being harsh on myself in regards to that, and more thinking that this might be a really good opportunity to start considering upgrades to some shiny stewards here in the early game. Like, I would be more amenable to that in this position, because we're not going to get enough units early on to really justify the 2-floor plan I want to start running as soon as I want to start running it, you know?
Sure is true.
Oh, that Wildwood Sap sure gets a lot worse when you know it's not going to be part of your end game.
It really does, right? And we also already have an Awake. And part of the reason to snap pick a Wildwood Sap is that you're not sure how you're going to scale regen, but we actually have like a pretty good regen card. Something that's weird, though, is I was like, okay, well, so what else is there? There's a Restoration Detonation here, which is a card that I really like, but we have Welder Imps, which makes it kind of hard to get value out of our healing if we're welding our frontliners.
Yep.
You know what card I really like with cultivating? Steel Enhancer.
Is it Steel Enhancer? The ability to buff a unit beyond the point that it is going to be the cultivate target? Or is it just because it's already naturally good with the cards that you would include in a cultivate deck?
It's... So to be clear here, I'm warming up to this card. I used to consider this card fine if it got put in the deck by, you know, the AI when my deck was created, but basically a never draft or a worst case draft. It felt too incremental, which is something that is rare for me to say, but it does two things kind of in a mediocre way. there's so many cards available to you that do either of those things in a much better way, right?
Yeah, like consider that it's 7 turns in most fights, right? Play it every single turn from turn 1, holding it over. It costs you 7 draws at that rate, but you also get plus 21, plus 21. Or you could play Channel Song once.
Right, exactly. Or you can Razor Sharp a couple times. There's just so much more efficient ways to scale up like that. But I'm growing on it because it can give you a weird numeric edge sometimes. It pushes a unit up over a line. It gives 3 damage to your sentient up front so that they actually kill something for you. It does scale your multi-attackers decently well. Heck, this isn't for friendly targets only. You could buff an enemy if you needed to like take more damage or get another hit in on something. It's not ever amazing, but I have been surprised by the number of times that it does something good when I'm looking for it to do so.
I do want to kind of counter something you've said there, actually. That it's never amazing. I will say, yes, it's very versatile. It has a lot of different things it can be used for, but a lot of the time I'll draft it early on because getting backline health scaling for units in Awoken outside of Cycle of Life is pretty hard.
That's now, a good thing. Paired with Stygian or paired with Umbra Exile for your champ, right? Like some of the pairings with it can be really cool too.
It's in particular the safety against sweeps from the enemy, because oftentimes I'll have like an Animus of Will that still has 3 health, and it's dying to the first sweep that comes through.
That's a good point. Yep.
It's the only non-rare, non-artifact health buff
that can give you health. Well, we have cultivating though, right? So we're already doing that, but I like it. I like it.
Ooh.
I also like. I kind of like this Hornbreak.
Okay, I love the Hornbreak as well, but
if you want to fledge, you want more welding.
It's so the reason I kind of want to fledge is because I know that if we do go for a second floor, kind of like imp heavy floor, in 2 floors time, we're not getting fledgling imps anymore. And after we get the Transcend Imp, I'm going to be very sad about that.
Okay, click it. That's fine. Transcend Imp is so fun.
I totally agree, though, that Hornbreak is very valuable, and it also offers you something that is not really offered that often to Hellhorned. Piercing damage that doesn't necessarily buff the enemy immediately afterwards.
Yeah, totally. I appreciate you countering on the steel enhancement too, to say no, it is amazing sometimes, because that's true. You can come up with times where this card is amazing. I find that it's lower variance than other cards. You know what I mean? Consistently good.
I typically avoided it for a really long period of time as well, and then I started taking it more commonly in incant decks because it was just a very efficient incant card.
Yeah. We have cultivating too, which makes this better because we draw more cards. So 0-cost cards become premium.
But then I also started to have problems where I was running Awoken heavy decks, and especially Animus of Will heavy decks, that would just eat it to any sweep. And that's largely because I refuse to give them plus 25 or plus 5 plus 10. I'm just giving them 2 plus 10s. So it is a little bit of a playstyle thing there as well. But I've definitely found their value in preventing sweep damage.
So are we going left then? So that we can,
to be.
Speaking of it, I like the left quite a lot here.
No,
I'm excited for this draft. Actually, quick could be.
What is
it could be a. It's not going. What we're doing is we're drafting this Animus of Will, and we're not giving it quick.
Yep. Totally agreed.
If we had gotten a sweeper, if we gotten like Shattered Shell there, I actually might consider the quick, because the cultivate can still be useful during Relentless, and because we have welder imps anyway, we're building up kind of a bulk of armor. So it could be okay. But yeah, we had that quick experience recently, right? And it's kind of a weird.
Yeah.
You're crossing your streams for sure.
It was the speculative pick, and it turned out to harm us a little bit, certainly.
But I liked your logic, which is that quick is effective health. That's how I'm thinking about quick most of the time, is for a unit that hits for a high number, it's effective health for them, right? Like a quick consumer of crowns kills a frontliner before they get hit.
Yes, exactly. That is a lot of the time the consumer of crowns, the Shadow Siege, If I have the right pairings in the clan, you know, the Penumbra or the Melting Remnant Rectiflicker, just taking them down as quickly as possible. Now, there is actually a really good option here of just like Heartstone, Strengthstone, then going to a Hellvent, duping an Animus of Will, putting 2 Animus of Will on the same floor. I'm going to say this is something I did very recently. It's very simple. We don't necessarily have to do it. I do like the idea of using a second floor and not necessarily just hyper duping the Animus of Will here.
But there's nothing wrong with securing our end game. Like, if this is a thing that we know is strong and that is going to work, then the consistent play is to do it. And also, in many ways, I think the fun play is to do it, because one thing that Monster Train lets you do is, if you know already that you have your core online, you can start to do weirder things and take speculative picks, try harder to find that Transcendent, dig deeper for relics, right? So I'm not opposed to that play at all. I would consider only doing Strength Stone and leaving open the other slot. But I don't know. I think it probably makes sense to just go in on both here.
So I like that idea. I was going to propose something similar of taking the Strength Stone and then re-rolling. Because Large Stone immediately takes duping out of the plan, but then Animus of Will, Sentient, and then we can just run effectively an Imp floor as like spell support.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, we could find Endless. And if we find Endless, suddenly the implant's online.
Yeah, which can get pretty cool. And there's a good chance that we might be interested in taking pips here with our Hell's Banner business.
That's part of the cultivating update, change the spikes 4 to plus 10 spikes 3.
Which I think is a really cool change. I actually like it a lot. But don't you just want to go to add another multi-strike here?
Do I? I do. Like, every single one of the cultivates becomes 4 damage, then up to the total of 12. It's so ridiculous.
It's so good. Like, and then that means, you know, we've simplified our line setup, as you like to talk about, which the more you talk about it, the more it appeals to me. Of, if I can solve most of the challenges in one lane, then that's simpler, right? And here you've done it. If you can hit 5 times in a lane, that's the amount of enemies you have to deal with most of the time.
At the same time as you say that to me, I've had the inverse experience of, it really feels like sometimes I could have used a tool that I drafted, like that I ignored earlier because I didn't see how it was going to fall into my draft. I really should probably take more things like that. I've been taking Dripfall every single time I've seen it. I've been taking...
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. There's some utilities that I just don't skip, and that's definitely one of, like, Ascends and Descends. If you can get one in your deck, it's almost always worth. This is a real... it feels like they heard our discussion about what we just did with this Animus. Because not only is this spikes, but this is also the sweep boss. So, do we ever skip this?
We have to. The reason is because the only way we survive if we turn it on is by torching all of the clergymen and taking them down with the vine grasps and such. But if we do that, we get no scaling and then we immediately die to the boss.
Yeah, because the health. Well, but how would we take it if we didn't? We turn it on and we don't play Animus of Will first cycle, because 13/4 is actually just pretty good damage. We sentient and try to buff up with fledgling imps and maybe even chump with some of them. We just survive through the waves and get some train stewards in play. And then how many? This is like a 5-round fight or something, and we're drawing 6 cards. We actually might be able to do that, Raps. Because 13/4 is a lot. Keep in mind, this boss has something like 200 health, right?
Sure, but the boss attacks first. So Animus dies before it hits.
Right. Because we won't have gotten any health on it.
Yeah, that's the reason, right? It needs the scaling earlier.
Can we win without Animus?
That is the question that I started to think about when we were talking about buffing with the imps. Like, maybe. Because... Well, but the imps themselves are going to die to the spikes if we're going to be chump blocking with the fledglings and using the welder helpers, but they'll die to that. We have no way of necessarily bringing them back. So what? We're just scaling up the sentient itself with shiny steward behind.
Yeah. Basically, floor 1 all over again, right?
This enemy has 6/170.
I'm briefly looking at just what is the name of this enemy?
They are the High Priest to the
Disciple
Light.
Okay, and this is Disciple Conduits. So they come on wave 6. They come on wave 4. It's a very short fight.
Okay, I'm going to ballpark that we have like 10 extra damage on that floor outside of things that we had to kill with torches or chump blocked against, which means we have a Sentient and a Shiny Seward. We have 15 damage on that floor, and this unit needs to be very healthy despite hastes on the not sycophants, the clergymen.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah, we should skip this. It's actually the length of the fight. I forget that some of these first rings are very fast. So there's a wave of clergy and a haster, a wave of clergy, a soldier and a haster, the respite, and then the boss. There's only 4 waves, and that means that would be really constrained. I started trying to think of a way where we could like have Animus on the top floor and Essence of Steel twice, and then but it was just, yeah, it's not worth.
It's definitely worth thinking about those kinds of things. It's just I don't know if it would have come out in the right direction as you've kind of assessed there.
Yeah.
Get another buff.
I've been surprised though. The more that I've tried to take trials, the more I've found that there's almost always a way. You just have to. But that's true if you take a lot of utility, right? There's almost always a way, but you have to take the utility to get it. This one. This has definitely been the first one in a while that I looked at and thought I actually think that just may be impossible for us.
Yeah.
Or not impossible. You know, if we could do decently well, maybe we leak 40 or something. I'm not sure it's worth leaking 40 for 75 gold on Ring 2.
I've been actually getting into the position where, so a fair while ago, I want to say like 2018, I was having a look at some of Jobs' educational content, specifically talking about the assessment that you make before going into an elite on the average amount of health you will lose in that elite fight based on your deck, right? And having a kind of like reasonable estimation of these things in mind. And I've started running those for trials, and I've started to get pretty accurate.
Pretty close.
Like, 7th floor trial, like, I think we're going to leak 28 damage to this. 26 we leaked in total, kinds of relatively close. I feel like you can get a much more accurate sense of those, and that's kind of like the direction I'm now trying to improve in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, like, if it was presented at the start of the fight, do you want to trade away 28 health for 150 or 400 coins, depends on your floor, right? You probably take it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the spikes also give us Cultivate. Hey, do you like this Sharpen?
It's not bad, is it?
I kind of like it.
It's plus 8 damage with the gnarled root. Otherwise, it's just good on the Sentient, preventing them from having to hit back, I don't know, like specifically weak units that have
It would
spikes.
specifically have been good for this fight, actually. That would have been the card that let us take the trial. Potentially.
Sting is a little less valuable here than it may typically be, just due to the fact that we're going to eventually be drawing 8 cards a turn at the absolute least, and any other things
minimum.
that say draw +1 per turn, or add a card to our hand at the start, Impsicle, I don't know, maybe end up with that. Become a little laborious. I will say that Restoration Detonation, this is a last opportunity we have to take that, and I was going to possibly argue for the previous one. Because the Sentient does just want to be healed by large individual values, and we do end up splitting up the Welder Helpers onto a secondary floor, which feels like it's going to become more common.
The reason that I would be excited about Resto Det is that I feel that we could have a bit more like big frontline damage options, but it will, for us to really take advantage of it, will require the enemies to either start doing a lot more damage or for us to not be welding. That's the only missing ingredient. We're over-armoring by so much.
I think we can start welding on a different floor relatively soon. Like, as soon as we find another unit that we want to utilize. And that may be in the Awoken Banner, it may be in the Concealed Cabins.
So my argument is that with Awake and the draw to draw through restores, that we have enough heal for the next 4 rings or so, especially if we start getting some removals. But that Sharpen can answer the back lines such that we can focus on killing front lines with the Animus of Will. So I really do think that the Sharpen increases the utility of the deck here significantly beyond what Resto Det does.
Okay, I like it. Oh, so
more imp.
2 different ways of addressing the same problem we have at the moment.
Yep.
Do you want to go with the spicier one?
We should put some imps in this deck. I would like to make a village.
It takes a village to make this
to raise an imp.
Exactly. No, are we in confirmation of the Hellvent on the other floor? The first pip being the first upgrade, putting the 2 Animus' Will behind the Sentient and then running the secondary.
So what
floor?
are we doing with 2 Animus? I feel like 2 Animus is the immediate term because the Cultivate is getting split across 2 Animus.
Yes.
In the long run, which is not actually, we're using more pips and not really increasing our value.
So the big reason I particularly like it is not necessarily actually active in this deck. So I've had 2 decks previously where I've run an Animus of Will and another thing on the cultivating floor, either another Animus of Will or a Shattered Shell, as the case was in the secondary.
Okay.
But the thing that made it super valuable was one of them was cultivating and the other one was razor sharp edging. And then it would cultivate when its health got too low.
Got it.
So,
oh, that's cool.
The big value that was actually proposed by it was both of them were just big damage units that I could put down initially. They didn't necessarily need to scale in either of these ones, right?
Yeah.
They're already dealing, 52 damage apiece.
Right.
So
and that might be a reason, is to take them just to have more damage for the next few rings.
Exactly. They propose like instantaneous impact on the board. In later rings where we've got like the first enemy has 100 HP, suddenly 2 Animus will already take that down, and then they scale up. So it's kind of like raising the floor, but it raises the floor to a degree that nothing in the game ever ends up meeting. And by the time they can meet it, it's late in the game when they've already scaled.
2 Animus of Will also, I guess, makes a fledgling imp theoretically more interesting, although we're getting into pretty wild pip requirement territory at that point. That's for sure.
Let's actually think about the alternative for a second here, though, because
Merchant of Magic 145.
Merchant of Magic could have double stack for Sharpen to get to Spike's 8, being able to kill almost any backliner in the game except for the Purifier.
Double stack Awake is also not bad.
It's definitely not bad, and it would be good for quite a while, especially based off the fact that we don't have that Resto Dedo pick. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable.
I do like starting to get 0 cost on restores and other 1 cost spells. Like, we'll benefit from that forever because of our draw capacity.
Yes, definitely true.
Part of me is looking at this and thinking, and we have Seraph the Chaste, huh?
I think it's really hard for us to justify duping anything except for the Animus of Will at this point, but I also kind of don't want to do the same thing that I did recently. We could,
there's value in looking at this other Awoken banner too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel really strongly here, to be honest, about anything. I'm trying to convince myself that there's another spell in the deck that I want to do just to have the utility of it. But okay.
Hang on. Sorry. Do not mean to interrupt, but what if the Animus of Will goes on the second floor? It gets funded in its health by the Welder Helpers, and it gets funded in terms of its damage by Fledgling Imps.
And we just have... I'm down to dupe this Animus, man.
Yeah.
I think double Animus is kind of neat.
Oh, look.
What if triple Animus? Do you ever take this Shattered Shell?
You totally could, right? It addresses the problem you were identifying prior. It would,
and it is a pretty cool cultivate target.
It could totally go on the top floor next to an Animus of Will. It won't necessarily get the earliest cultivates, but if you put the Animus behind the Shattered Shell, Sentient, then Shattered Shell, then Animus at the very back, you get all the sweep triggers from the Shattered Shell, and then the Animus in the backline is literally just scaling for its boss damage.
Yeah, I think this is 10 gold. I think we just dupe this Animus. I think we play into as many trials as we can over the next floor. Oh gosh.
Well, okay, so can I pitch a tertiary idea?
Go ahead.
I do want to dupe the Dante scandal. Now the reason is because we would
surely you dupe a deadweight over a candle.
Yeah, okay, we'll do the deadweight. The reason in particular is just because if we were going to run the Animus of Will as that extra unit on that extra floor with the Welder Helpers and stuff, why not do that with Dante?
Okay, I want to pose that this might be one of the first times in this series where this is truly deeply mimetic. We will still win this way.
Okay. I might be getting a little overconfident about this. I legitimately think this is probably out of all of the times I've had the option to dupe a blight, this is the most viable of them. I still don't know necessarily whether it's definitely not more viable than duping Yadam's Will, but
did you know that Dante is unit type Dante?
Mm.
Were you aware? We should dupe this deadweight and focus 100% of our energy on getting ready for the birth of the Dante.
But
because it's going to be beautiful.
But Teak, if we do that, we've broken the streak. Because the streak specifically says that we rotate around the clans. We go, Hellhorned, Awoken, the Stygian Guard, Umbra Belting Remnant, right? It doesn't say go Hellhorned,
anything about Dante.
Then into
that's
Stygian.
True.
So, I don't know.
It's a good point. Maybe it's kind of like a Joker, it's the wild card. Dante is unit type Dante, and everything is unit type Dante, and Dante is unit type everything as well.
He kind of is, though. Like, look at his design is very kind of like Gambit, but into planar Traveler.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's do the easiest setup of all time again.
I've had Talos give my build some hell recently a couple times.
Through the pushbacks?
The pushback one, yeah.
Yeah, it gets really, really rough. I find oftentimes if I have especially like Gorge builds or like this unit is specifically protected the entire time and they've got some scaling plan going on, like a Hellhorn that's got Reaper or some such. I have to think about this from the first floor. Like it's the Fel with Scourges, and then it's probably Seraph.
Yep. Chump blocking can make it a bit easier. That's the thing that I've found to be the most consistent lately, is make sure to have a unit that can take a hit or two so that you can chump the movement. And we have imps. But this one's not movement, so we don't have to worry about it, but it's just a tricky fight.
Definitely worthwhile. Hang on, so that's 80 damage already. Oh no, but but spikes will start killing the clergyman. Hang on. I'm a buff. I think we can get every part of this scaling.
I'm
a buff. There's an Awake in this deck. Ooh.
Buff it is.
It has to be just for this next floor coming up.
Yep. Nah, but it's all good.
My
because we got the weld.
I wonder if that actually like helped us kill the second Forged Disciple there. I didn't necessarily run the numbers.
We definitely feel good. What we did was strong. There's no doubt about that.
All right.
Surprised you didn't play that Molten Imp out on the mid lane.
Yeah, honestly, I think like I got to the point of like, I can play it on the top floor and then just kill it. I could put it in the middle lane. It's not going to make a difference either way, Raps. Just
yeah, that's right. Nope, I came to the exact same conclusion. It's super important, though, to know when you can start thinking about the next fight. Save yourself a brainwave.
Definitely impactful.
Wow, there sure are some options here.
Certainly are. Spreading Spores gets a lot harder to take for the Seraph the Chaste at all, which makes Shard Channeler harder to consider as well, which means that it's a Woken Rail Spike, in my opinion.
I think Awoken Rail Spike is also just solid right now. Quite like it.
Where are we going next? Merchant of Steel feels like it's not valuable until after Dante arrives, and that's going to be here. So we go to the Merchant of Steel there. So we go Herzl's Horde.
I like the left side. Yeah. And we get to bankroll some cash, too, for a better... I think it's great.
No.
Like maybe a Rail Beater. That looks like cash to me.
Yeah, they're not Dante.
So do you want to take energy here?
Yes, pretty badly.
And then we can consider pips versus draw for the last ring. That's where I was leaning to.
That's where I'm leaning.
Cultivate is just so much draw power. Holy crap. And you're typically intending to keep it online. Like, you don't want it to die very often.
If we had less access to killing our own imps, I think I might consider the capacity a little bit more, but let's go energy.
I feel great about the energy. And we saw this in a recent run. You pick up a rail spike, and suddenly energy gets much better, particularly when that energy is... Oh, man, we could have the Thorn Fruit and the... That's actually kind of wild. One of our first relics offered in Ring 0 was plus 20 damage per sting.
Thankfully, the plus 10 piercing is still in there, and that is probably more utility on average, I feel.
I still think that this is the pick. I mean, it's incredible. So
it is. So there was a conversation that was happening in the comments of a previous episode where we were talking about Thorn Fruit. We were talking about it kind of being the extra draw every single turn, right? It generates you a card that then translates into draw the next turn. Now, it is worth noting, as soon as we take this, we're up to 10 every single turn. We generate a sting.
Yeah, because the sting itself. Yep.
Exactly. Which does make Imsicle a little bit sadder.
True.
We don't necessarily have to deviate based on that, but
you can just miss a sting too. And I had a deck recently that did that. Every other turn, it just didn't generate a sting.
Yeah.
And that ended up being fine because I was drawing 10 cards.
Or we could give Pyrogrow consume removal and then holdover, and then we -2 draw every turn.
That's funny.
Although the conversation that I was talking about in particular that was happening there
was really funny.
Was talking about like what is the downside of Thorn Fruit in that circumstance, and it was talking about it being like very, very positive tempo, but it dilutes your deck on the second draw. And something about that didn't sit right with me. I couldn't respond to the comment at the time because I couldn't necessarily put words to it. But I've come to feel that the second cycle, this is in my play style, so I don't know if this is necessarily universal, but the second cycle to me matters 0 actually compared to the first cycle, whereas I think for most players maybe it's like 20-80. The first cycle obviously matters far more.
First cycle is always going to be more important, right? Yeah.
How often do you feel like you get into the second cycle before you've set up your win?
Fights, well, so it depends on the class. I would say more often with classes like Melting Remnant, to where you may be setting up to and through the Relentless phases. But I would also posit that I don't think that dilution is a real effect. And the reason is that fights aren't that long in this game. You're only going to generate something like 6 stings. If 6 stings are enough dilution in your deck to lose for you in the next cycle through your deck, that's amazing. I don't know what kind of deck you've made to where 6 stings and draw 2 actually wreck you.
That is a really
considering
good
you're
point.
Also drawing, right? Like you're also still drawing more. So
that is a really good point. The only deck that actually has trouble with that is the deck that is so thin that it already probably tries to set up its win on turn 1. Like it was getting the engine online. And then past that point, how much do you have to run with the engine still? I guess maybe through a buff deck.
Something that's just really tough about thinking about these games is sometimes it's very easy to like wave your hand at ghosts. And we have these intuitions about ghosts that might exist. But they're specters. And when we try to sit down and describe them, well, what does that ghost look like? Well, it's a deck to where 6 stings in the second draw cycle is really bad for you. And you start to ask yourself if that deck is real, right? So it's very easy to do, though. It's very easy to do because I think somebody pointed out in a comment section recently that it's just kind of evolutionary truth that we tend to do harm reduction more than value maximization. That's just a natural reaction, right? Yeah. And so we perceive that corruption might exhaust our deck and sting might dilute our deck, and that looks like harm, and so we avoid it.
We're just very, very wary creatures as humans.
But I think we're swinging at ghosts. It's not real.
Yeah, the example of the rustle in the underbrush. You gonna run from it or not? Well, it could have been a spider. It could have been a tiger. Who knows?
I've never heard this story. Is this an Australian thing?
Well, it's more like the evolutionary instinct is the person who jumps away from the rustling bush lives.
Right. That's right.
I ended up setting this up specifically so the fledgling imp would be going on top. So it's all good. I'm just trying to filter out units because, like, these are not being optimally placed right now. I will readily admit that, but also this is not going to stop happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
I've seen this fight enough times to know that this train don't stop.
If there's anything that I know, Would you look at that? That makes me feel better about not taking Hornbreak, actually. Vine Grasp, and I didn't think about that. Hornbreak is something that I take to deal with 0 damage, high armor, low health frontliners. Meat shields. But what if I could just rearrange the lane? If spikes can kill backliners through a meat shield and Vine Grasp can pull other frontliners in front of them, then Hornbreak becomes less important. That's actually really cute.
I had
think about that.
thought about that recently in terms of ascend and descend being the same value proposal, right?
Yeah, you can just descend away that 0 damage frontliner to clear them out of the way. Absolutely. Ascend and descend is so good. If there's anything that I impress upon you and so many other people in this series that I'm so happy to hear you say already in this one, it's that like draft more movement.
Yeah.
Movement abilities in this game are just, you will find if you are looking, you will find a way to use them.
The utility of being able to use them on enemies as well.
Yeah.
Makes it so broad. Also, I find the more I take them, the more I have, and this is something I was talking about previously as well, the ability to open myself up to late game build variation, because I might just have another unit that I drop down with a cave in. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well,
Do you ever just like snap up a second awake here?
Oh, as like supplemental health?
Just to make it more consistent that we get to it in fights where we're taking burst damage.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, because we are going to be diluting this deck a little bit more, right? We're going to want more card picks as a result of not necessarily wanting to draw Dante's Candle all of the time.
Yeah, that's
and it's
true.
not like we have that many kind of like very, very important cards in the deck.
Yeah.
I like it.
What else were you looking at there?
I told you. I told you.
You promised it would happen, and it did. By the way, I often talk about Dante here only in terms of Dante, but Dante doesn't just give you Dante. Dante gives you a cloak.
I mean, it is
that
Dante's
cloak says +2 magic power for every blight card in your deck. How many blight cards do we have in our deck, Rhapsody?
5.
That is +10 MP. Our torches hit for 12. Our restores restore for 12.
Ooh,
That's so good.
Actually,
that makes the other awake a little sillier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
But we only have 4. We don't have 5, so I think it's okay.
I think that's such an easy decision.
Dante will grow larger.
So if Dante is running on his own floor with the imp support, and I feel like I
Is Dante not going on the lane with... This is our better cultivate target now, no?
Oh, right, yeah, so just swap them?
Yeah.
Well,
Large
then-
it up, put +10, and we're going to Disney. That's
Oh, no.
That's real strong.
Do we large it then?
Yeah, because Cultivate 3 is 160 health or something.
Yes.
So the 50 health is not, it's not really a problem. Only in the mid game is it kind of weird.
Okay, I'm totally fine with that. It also gives us more capacity on the floor with the Animus of Will, so we have the ability to play with these more. I want to get an Endless on the Transcendent, but also on Fledgling, so we get more stacks of the Rage buff in there.
Love it. I love everything about this. Mostly that there's a Dante in it. This is my grand finale of this game. Except that I think most people found value in Dante. You know what I did just yesterday? Did you see it?
No.
You immediately came up with it? Okay.
Oh, was it
multi-strike Transcendent? Yeah, it was multi-strike Endless Transcendent, and then I duped it, and it did 1,500 damage a turn. It was great.
Let's do it then.
Maybe we can recreate this simple joy.
Look, I'm leaving myself open to it because the only other upgrade I really care about on it is Endless, so
Yeah.
without having found that here. Is it time to cut other cards from the deck? Because those shiny swords are going to have difficulty finding places now.
It is, but are we about to be at Immersion of Trinkets?
Yes.
So I think we should hold off on paying for purges until then.
But we could dupe another... Not Dante, of course. Definitely not Dante. But we could dupe another deadweight.
What, deadweights? Just dupe deadweights all the way down. That's amazing.
So
Oh
these
my God.
restores and these torches are still definitely useful.
They're great now, right?
Yeah.
I love cutting this. Stewards, your day will come. For all that I talked about keeping and upgrading stewards.
Mhm.
But you know what? I know that you believe that the situation exists. We just haven't bumped into it.
I believe in it, and I'm trying to find it so often. Because because I know that it can do that. So
Yeah.
I found oftentimes one of the most useful learning experiences that I can have in a game like this is seeing something that I do not understand fundamentally on any level. And even if it's like a thing that I do and this works, but I don't know why, right?
Yeah.
And I want to know why that works like desperately.
The train stewards thing, I think part of the reason why we haven't done it much is we're not on C25.
Yeah.
Once you get into the 20s, there are more enemies, they're tougher, and they do more damage. Chump blocking becomes a bigger deal. It's like when we talked about the old tomb upgrade. Before it gave them burnout and it just gave them health. If you take it on C25, it's great. If you take it on C1, I lost because they wouldn't die, right? And so that's I think the higher covenant we get, the more useful just having train stewards as non-priority meat shields becomes.
Definitely.
Non-priority units are really valuable, depending on the run.
I have a lot of difficulty utilizing them, as you might imagine, because
we're gonna learn. We're gonna keep doing new stuff. But right now we have to Dante.
I am very, very keen. This Markham invasion, as I've said many times over the course of the series, you leak so little damage to it.
Yeah, you just take it.
I think it kind of does need to be changed a little bit, man. Like it's easier than the sycophants. Sorry, the sycophants.
Yeah.
These are the sycophants. It's easier than the clergymen. Which
it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. Yeah, it's just not real damage because of sweep.
Is Trey wild.
It's not really clear what it's punishing. Do you just throw the Animus of Will on bot lane and then it instantly dies? Yeah, what's the point? I think you just leave it in the deck, right?
Yeah, I think we do. Hang on. So I think we do, and then I think we play one Welder Helper. We don't play the other Transcendent or the other Welder Helper. We play any of the other imps, and then effectively in the second draw, we're hoping to get, through the extra draw power of the Sentient and the Sting, a Animus of Will and a Welder Helper or a Transcendent at the same time, so they can establish themselves on middle floor.
Yeah. We could dupe Dante, and Dante could tank for Animus of Will.
We could dupe Dante, and then Dante could be all we play.
We could. What if more Dante is really what I'm getting at?
More Dante is the best amount of Dante I've found.
I suspect that that's true.
Oh,
verifiable.
Give me extra.
True. Oh, you love when the Awake gets cheaper. Actually, the Rail Spike is another reason why Awakes are decent. They probably want 1/1, right?
How many?
Maybe we'll get a split anvil or something. That'd be cute.
I'd be keen to see one, but also just like visiting a Merchant of Magic would be enough for me for a while, I feel.
True.
Stats.
This is so relaxing. This is absolutely the winter vacation run that I needed. I'm not to say we won't see speed bumps from here, but we've had a few runs that really got into danger territory in this streak, and this one is so comfy. Maybe it's because it's what we said in the very beginning. It's also red-green. Other than the Cultivate, some of these things are synergies we've been playing with since March.
Definitely. And Cultivate itself kind of fits into a pattern of play that was established by the classes already, right? Like gradually buffing each individual unit, having extra effects from multi-strike, obviously having a frontliner that is quite powerful. Just different ways of utilizing the same thing. Okay, so we're in the second draw. We haven't got the Animus in the same hand as the Welder Helper here. We haven't really got that many waves remaining, so I'm just going to play it.
I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to use the space that I have to think about the long term. And I'm not too worried. I think that there is a chance we may consider taking pips to be able to use Welder Helper and Transcendent to further buff the effective health of the Sentient.
Oh, yeah.
Just because if we can lengthen the Seraph fight by just a couple turns, it'll make all the difference. I think we're already going to scale up enough if we play correctly, but that's insurance.
Definitely totally agree. I don't feel so threatened.
Yeah. The big thing is just that it will be very hard to stack regen. And so I'm trying to look for other ways to increase the durability.
I mean, 180 health?
Is a lot if we can stay there, right? Yeah.
Quite durable. Also, Emblem of the Exile would be really nice.
I like that. Funny, right? Like, Edge Prior is almost tempting.
Yeah.
That's certainly a way to stay topped off. Draw 8 cards a turn, and all of the restores are free.
Oh, it's so... So what, we'd give it 2 Heartstones so that it doesn't take
and that
them
means
from
we don't have
Dante?
to upgrade the Awake, too, because Awake is actually a heal card, and if we hit it with the Rail Spike, it's now free. I think this Edge Prior is not bad.
If it ever competes for Dante's buff, does it then suddenly become bad?
Oh gosh. No, you're right. No, that's the Nyx. I totally forgot. See? Because I look at the totem, or I look at a morsel, or I look at an imp, and I don't think of it as a unit. It's a spell. But it is a unit.
Speaking of spells here, though, we can actually use them as spells. We can get a spell that gives us more spells.
3 energy and some stuff. Do you ever take the Spike of the Hellhorned, though? With the energy gen that we have?
Mayhaps. Do you ever take
10
Impressive
rage?
because it's attuned and we have plus 10 magic power?
Oh. That's kind of sweet. Although, honestly, what's good about this is it's a way to get rid of our imps.
Yes.
We're not really lacking for wave clear at this point because we have a Dante that's a ×6 attacker.
So a plan that wants an endless imp specifically wants important work.
Yeah.
But in lack of that, you still want the imp to
Impressive.
die.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of access to killing our own imps
Upcycling,
just
Rhapsody.
from the torch. Sorry,
We're
you're right.
upcycling.
You want them promoted to the next match.
That's right. I like this impressive. I think that's cute.
But
I think
does
it's
it
fun.
do what we already do with torches and vine grasps?
I suspect that right now we can pick whatever we think will be the most fun to click on.
Tink, what do you think is going to be the most fun to click on?
There is certainly a jambling factor of Imp in a Box, which I enjoy.
One of the big things I really like about Imp in a Box in particular, especially in a deck that already has a Transcend Imp, is the imp that works the best with it, the Scholar Imp, is a rare card, so you can find it through to the end of the rings, but also you can get it from Imp in a Box, and then suddenly you just have a cycle of more imps, as many as you want, effectively.
Yeah, it is in the pool for Imp in a Box. Or, do you call blue rare?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. See, I've always done common, uncommon, rare. What do you do? Common, rare, legendary?
So that's... So as soon as I said that, I was like, yeah, I know that I call them rare drafts when I get a purple in this game. I think it's like halfway between the gem knowledge I have from back in Hearthstone when I kind of formulated my knowledge
It's always
of them.
so weird, right? Yeah, and then you're getting your World of Warcraft in, and we there's a lot of colors and rarities going on. But I know what you're talking about, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
As
take
long
the
as
Imp in
there's
a Box.
variations.
Imp in a Box is really fun to click on. It was the first instinct. I think we are so strong. I think Dante can carry us through this run. Good call on the Edge Prior, by the way. I really didn't think about that. Hey, there's the Thorn Casing, if we wanted to do that.
We can, but also there are so many relics that are good for us at this point that I wonder if we re-roll and possibly find 2 or 3. Any imp-related relic.
Literally just reroll here. Gosh, but we're just gonna skip it? It's pretty good.
It is. It definitely is. I'm happy to click it.
I think we should take the Thorn Casing with the Thorn Fruit. That's pretty cool.
If I wasn't so comfortable with the scaling of Dante as it already exists, Root Split Mask suddenly comes into play, set up on the top floor, keep them there for 2 turns. I don't think we need it though.
Yeah, honestly, that was the reason to skip the Thorns too. Oh my gosh.
This is really good because it's a draw every turn, but it's a draw when you want it, so you're not overdrawing.
These are all pretty good. I like the Sap Tap, I think, for sure, right? I think that's just excellent. The other 2 we could argue for a skip, I guess. Although, stacking more armor... I guess it only applies once with the Transcend Imp.
Yeah, maybe if we took the armor for everyone previously, every unit comes in with 5 armor.
Yeah, right. And then they're all coming in with 9 armor, and that's pretty sweet. And our imps have 10 effective life.
And we can
Still
kill
low
them
enough
with
to
the
get
torches.
torched. Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think we can skip these and hold out
Bankroll.
the money for another merchant
Sure.
trinkets in the next area.
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. Keep digging.
We're doing this. All right. Well,
I think that the thorn casing was a luxuriant pick. I don't think we needed it. I don't think it's going to make a difference at all, but I will be so excited when it does pierce one target.
and look, if it's not like it's going to make us lose either. So
Right.
if it makes happiness by killing one target, it's already doing very well.
That's our theme today.
Make
Our
happy.
theme today is make happy. That's right.
Shout out
But with all the
Burnham.
upsides. Click the cards that bring us joy.
This could bring a hell of a lot of joy right now.
Oh, the sting in the mid lane is actually doing something too.
That's so much. Okay. It's time to think.
Oh man.
Do we leave
this turn is really
Transcendent for
strong.
the next cycle?
If we wanted to play it out right now, there's a line by which we sting mid lane, play 2 fledgling imps out mid lane and 1 bot lane, and then we play the transcend imp in the mid lane and put it like towards the back, and then that's enough chump block too, and that's actually pretty good. I don't know what it's doing because like the top, it's just for the fun of making a big transcend imp, right?
And then the defense of them is funded by welder helpers just sitting in the front line and chump blocking afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if this was our like primary kill floor or some such, then I would wait for the second cycle and do stuff. But I think we're totally fine to do that here.
Yeah. Top floor will continue to be strong. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Animus living on one. Living on the edge. It's awesome.
On a wing and a prayer, certainly. Yeah, because 2 of those are chumping, so
We could kill one.
doesn't actually change the math.
Just saves us a little bit more life on the Animus.
And then, I mean, are we in the realm where we just sharpen for 24 damage on Dante?
Yes, because we've solved backliners.
Yeah.
That scales better than the spikes. Unless there's an enemy who's going to hit us 6 times.
God, you know what we
That
actually
enemy.
did is we prevented cultivates by doing this.
It's true, but we are okay.
But Dante's
I thought
not
about
gonna
it.
grow.
Dante will grow. Dante will get to fight in
It's
the
fine,
end.
I'm getting Dante to grow.
Grow. I hope we find the endless transcend imp that you desire. I really do.
It'll be here. I believe so deeply. Alright. That happens, and then I'm just gonna make sure we keep all the regen on the top line. The one that confirms the kill.
Are we just going to take another energy gem?
We totally could, right?
I'm kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Do we need any other space in our Dante cultivate line? No.
If we were in a higher ascension and there was a capacity limited floor, then maybe just to be resilient
Right,
against that.
right.
but
That's a
not
good
here.
point.
Get him, Dante. Actually, if we didn't run that midline floor, we may have killed Fel before.
Just scaled all the way.
Uh-huh.
Soon enough, it's going to be +3s. Wow. I love that we can use some of our spells to proc cultivate. It's hilarious that we're just casually torching this plant for 12, and we're cool with it. It's like, yeah, they're fine. They're used to it.
It's like I'm watering the plant, but coming out of the spout is lava.
It's just flame. Yeah, it's lava. That's right. What are you watering with? Lava!
Don't you know? This plant only works well if it is in adverse conditions.
It's like the what are the bomb plants from Gerudo Valley or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they grow bombs? How do they grow bombs? 15x the number of imp units in your deck. That's 85 damage. Spike of the Hellhorn is back, dog. I think we should take it. And I think we should take another energy gem.
I started feeling a little sore about having left the Spike of the Hellhorn. Immediately after we left, I played Dante on the next round, and I was like, hang on.
Didn't we want to grow this Dante?
I think we do.
But we got to click on Imp on the box, and that was good too. The world is our oyster in this run, so.
Yeah, this one is wide open. I mean, that Consume Crown gives Dante +10 every time he kills something. Well, actually +12.
We should take it. That's a big number.
Oh, but then we
Stonks
don't
on
get
the
to
rise.
possibly re-roll and find the other thing.
Well, we get to do that again on the next floor.
Money. Oh.
Money. Wait, can we dupe tiny Dantes?
We totally can get 2 tiny Dantes.
I require some tiny Dantes, please.
All
Might I please, sir?
Tiny Dante's coming right up.
Did you know that if we have tiny Dantes, we can also fit our Transcendent? We gotta take this crown. We gotta do it, and then we just leave, and then we just bankroll, and the Dante is so small, but his heart is large.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Now what we have to do is figure out exactly what we're looking for in the Merchant of Trinkets.
Mm-hmm. 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 And we have, yeah, that's a good question. I want something to make the Seraph go away and not chased me. I do not want to be chastened.
Can
I do that?
Effective. God. Because if we're going for duping Dante, it's on the opposite side to the Merchant of Steel, so we can't get Endless anymore. Or
It's true. It's true. It's true. But we do get to have 2. We get 12 Dante hits per turn, and that's assuming we don't find one Hornstone, and we might.
Calling it now, we will. Teague, you ready?
Look at the Pierce. We did it.
Oh, God,
Yes.
that felt great.
I only needed it once.
What?
That was enough.
That's the card we
Wow.
drew.
Wow. Just keep on keeping on.
It's
Why
both
stop?
ways.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. But they'll be cheap next time.
Now, we do have 2 Dantes going on in that top floor, so
Oh, we could put the Animus in
gonna-
there too, actually, in the top floor.
Oh, we could. Okay, hang on. We're not learning anything new here. Sorry.
We just want to see.
Yeah, it's very specifically like we don't. I'm not remaking a decision based on
Right.
new information. It's the same information I had available at the time. This is the justification I use.
I respect this justification. My justification is that I want to see all of our people gather together on the top floor.
This is perfect.
It only considers health, right? Not armor.
Yeah,
So
just
Spike
the
of the Hellhorn doesn't change anything for cultivate target. Okay, that's
No.
interesting.
Okay, this is looking like a pretty good turn.
Mm-hmm.
Finally,
So far, so good. The welding.
A lot of health.
That means the Transcendent is going to be quite welded.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's also not going to do any damage.
Look, it's the cheerleader squad. Its goal is to be cute.
Let's get rid of those and go for the buff on that floor, I guess. Then we want as many strikes hitting the Sentient as possible, as long as we have the ability to kill the Gilded Wing. So it comes up to the top floor with 160, 35
Plenty.
by 6. Sorry, what?
We do plenty of damage, is what I was saying.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will overrun that easily. Okay, so we just let everyone go to the top floor if we can.
Mm-hmm. Getting those slays, getting that consumed crown.
Hell yeah, it's starting to pop off. I'm gonna keep buffing the Animus of Will here.
I
as well.
agree. You could also torch the Animus of Will if you just wanted to go ahead and do a controlled burn.
Yeah.
It wouldn't harm your outcome.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of like pie chart idea I've been talking about a lot in previous episodes. I'm thinking about a lot here where it's like everything is happening here and we put a lot of effort into making this floor happen, but it
looks nice. Look at it. It looks good. Look at that floor. It might only be 4% of our damage, but what percent of the joy?
And in another set of circumstances, it could totally have become 100% of our damage.
Yeah. We've got more chances yet. There's more merchants to come.
Oh. We'll go with that, but then... We're actually getting more slays with the Animus of Will now.
Yeah, it got too strong. Look at Dante. Dante kind of left in the dust here.
Dante, I'll buff you.
Can't believe how aggressively we torch our own sentient. It's just amazing.
It's just these awakes are so good already.
They really are. 3 regen is a lot. You know, the first time I saw Awake, I was like, oh, that's 3 regen, but Wildwood Sap is 5. But Wildwood Sap is a consume card. You play it once, you get 5 regen out of it one time. But with Cultivate Sentient, as we're seeing, we can play this Awake 5 times in a fight.
I think I had like an anchoring bias going on, because back when restores didn't have regen 1 on them, they just restored 3 HP straight. The Wildwood Sap was the source of regen, right? It was that, and it was the spreading spores.
Yeah.
And I think I anchored to, oh, okay, so the base amount of regen that is a common card's worth of regen is 5. So what is Awake worth? And then as soon as they upgraded the restores to have regen 1 on them, I started realizing how good regen 1 is.
Just a stack. Yeah. That's really cool how little changes can signal to the player that way. Just putting a little tiny bit of regen in the starter deck totally changes the way you conceptualize, right? That's awesome.
Hugely.
There's that important work if you want.
We can give it holdover now, but we can't do anything to the imps that it's going to be affecting. I mean, look, we can give it holdover, and then we can get imp cycle, and then we can never play a sting, so we can actually use it's nothing. Enflame, maybe?
Yeah, let's take this in flame. I agree. It'll be a good target for magic upgrades. I'm excited that we get to have...
There's a double stack for that Enflame.
That double stack can go on a bunch of stuff in this deck.
Oh,
Firestone Housing, no!
Well, actually, we're kind of happy about that, because these Dantes are already triple upgraded.
That's true. We can't put any more on... You know, that's a good point. This is fine. Winged Steel is the thing that's... Well. Yeah. Look at this. This is how we break 10 cards a turn. We just have a bunch of delayed draw effects. Sap Tap and Winged Steel.
Can you believe Winged Steel used to draw 2?
I can, but I also can't. So, Resonant Shard, it's not... Does it do anything? Right?
Yeah, it's so if it wasn't for the Seraph the Chaste, Gnarled Root and Resonant Shard would both be totally reasonable, right? It just turns the Sharpen into a +8 on a target. The Resonant Shard obviously is absolutely ridiculous with a giant spike at that point, but it's really hard to justify them when the Seraph is just going to eat all of our buffs.
Yeah, agreed. And we're not... The imps are mostly just for play. I mean, we're just like... we just like have a funny sandbox that we're playing in with all these imps, but it's not really a necessary part of our plan, right?
Actually, that's the double stack target, right?
Right, and then put a -1 on it, and then a -1 on one of the Awakes. Quite like that.
Ooh, do we ever want to consume one out of the deck? Like a torch?
And then that's a big damage number too. I like that. Because I was going to say that honestly, the rest of our money might just pretty much be removals.
More than happy with that, naturally.
This appeals to you.
Deeply. This perma might just want to go on the cost reduced Awake. Just have a heal in the pocket, just in case, like, I don't want to rely on drawing Awake after this cycle, and regen.
That's not a bad idea. That's just a big... Yeah.
It's effectively a safety blanket, right?
Yeah, it could help us. Okay, what are we cutting?
Yeah, that's the question, right? Like, the easiest, like, the least impactful thing in here and the easiest thing to cut is the imp package, but I don't want to.
We can cut the animus.
But the animus goes, wait, no, because we weren't doing capacity, right? So the animus does go away.
Yeah, it really does nothing. It's just gonna die. It's beautiful. It's got a multi-strike. I mean, it's worth like 400 gold or something.
I love cutting a double upgraded unit. Mwah,
just feels powerful.
I don't even need you. It's like it's like getting a brand new Tesla and just driving it and totaling it immediately out of the parking lot. It's like getting out of the car and just going, yeah, it's a good day.
Walking away.
I don't even
getting
need
on
this.
your unicycle and leaving.
Exactly. I mean, like,
part of me just wants to take this money and
let's do it.
And you know, sprinkle it on the Seraph, 1 penny at a time. Take my bits.
Just
Seraph.
flipping coins.
Yeah.
I think
You
my goal
feeling
here
lucky?
is kill the Seraph before the final round.
Okay. There's a chance.
A significantly non-zero chance of it, I believe.
We'll take advantage of all this energy to make all that rage. It's beautiful.
And now it goes away.
Wah. We lose some of it, not all.
Uh-oh. My bad.
Oops. Got imp blocked. It's okay.
Wait, so the
No,
other
it-
one just doesn't generate?
Yes. Isn't that weird? So Slay the Spire taught me that it would go to the discard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But generative effects just fizzle if they don't have space in this game. It totally threw me the other day when I was fully expecting a generate like that to put a card or two in the discard, and they just don't exist. They just never happen.
Deeply unfortunate.
It is deeply unfortunate, but I mean, once you know, you know.
I've run into that kind of experience in a bunch of card games recently where, you know, but this is how it works in Slay the Spire. Not necessarily invoked by me, sometimes invoked by me, I'll admit, but sometimes invoked by members of my community as well, or sometimes invoked by like the larger community for these kinds of roguelikes, deck builders and such. And I've started to feel more and more like thinking about that as like almost like a Slay the Spire centric Imperial kind of vision of like, this is what Slay the Spire was. So
It's
everything
totally
else has to be.
mechanical colonialism, isn't it?
Yeah.
We measure in feet here. Well, why? Well, because that's what Spire does. Yeah. And it's not even that it's not an intuitive game. It is. It's an incredibly intuitive game. That's part of the reason why those mechanical ideals have propagated so well. But it is ridiculous to assume that every game will work the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like goes without saying.
I can forgive people for falling into the trap of feeling it though, because
Yes, absolutely agree.
you get stuck in a mode and it's like, oh, I know how this one goes.
Absolutely.
Alright. Hey, we can now get the Transcendent down. Finally, buffs. How's Seraph going? Oh, that's okay.
It's okay. It's not, it's not the wildest scaling, but it's just very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
If this weren't Seraph the Chase, the number would look a lot different.
Yeah, no kidding. It might not necessarily be on the screen anymore at this point.
And then we would have taken Resonance Shard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything would be quite different. Oh, wow, yeah. Be on like 30 rage for a +3 for each rage. Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
so pleased with this Permafrosted Awake.
Same.
Let's keep going for the same bot. Yeah, okay. Wait, waves remaining 2. Okay, so it'll go away, and then it'll go back down to the bottom floor. Dang. No early kills for us.
Wah. Well, better late kill than no kill.
Wait a second. Okay, there's no damaging effects in our draw. I wanted to make sure that we go out of this fight perfect.
Exactly 140 health.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that becomes the second level objective, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
especially when you are this optimized in terms of your build, and there's really nothing much
Yeah.
else you can do at this
Yeah.
point. You have to find something to optimize for, which is why coming into this fight, my
Yep.
goal was kill the Seraph before they come down.
Kill him early, yeah. That's always what I do too, is like if I'm feeling quite strong, Am I going to go for no leaks? Am I going to limit the cards that I play? What kind of extra challenges can I do? Spelunky does a good job of, you'll notice more and more. Rhapsody viewers are like, does Teak... I had a dream about Spelunky the other day, y'all. I need you to know this. I had a dream that I went hitless up to level 744. So I have never had a dream about other games that I play, I don't think. Only Spelunky. But it does a good job, like, giving you encouragements for challenge style play. By the way, if you happen to be cursed here, which means you can't take any damage, then you can go to a special shop. And that's kind of what we're doing too, right?
Yeah. And then immediately I abandoned it because I drew a Dante's candle at the wrong time.
It's okay. Ultimately, we win. We won with double Tiny Dante and an Infinite Box as a cheerleader squad. I think that we are the winners here.
Well, I think Dante deserves at least a little bit of the credit.
That's a good point. Perhaps Dante is the winner, but a rising tide lifts all Dante.
I've got like a visual image of the triple stage kind of like Olympics podium, and it's one podium in the middle that's much, much taller than the other two, and then the other two are actually equally heighted, and it's just Dante at the very, very top. And then on
the other two are Dante in lowercase.
Dante.
Yeah, but in parentheses. Yeah. De-emphasized, but still Dante.
Also Dante. Or Dante's candle and deadweight are the other two.
How many times did we dupe a deadweight? Was it only once, or did we do that twice?
It was just the once, I think. The second dupe was... did we even get to a second dupe other than Dante?
I have...
No, we avoided the hell vent and we went on the other side for the Merchant of Trinkets, I believe.
No idea. Okay. That's right, because we wanted to just get trinkets.
Well,
what a run.
This has been a Dante run. I'm actually going to very swiftly take us to the outro and into the next episode. For the moment, though, my name is Rhapsody. His name's been sneakyteak. Links you're looking for are all in the description down below. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourselves, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Dante.